salawat ala Muhammad wa ala. Amma ba'd, assalamu alaikum jami'an wa rahmatullah. I remind myself and the believers to observe the taqwa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ittaqullah, ittaqu rabbukum, which is a wajib, necessary part of Salatul Jummah on the day of Friday. We've been continuing our discussion on rulership, the haqq, the hukuk of the ruler, the responsibilities and the status, and what obligations that the ruler has got and what obligations the majma has got towards the ruler as well. And what we were talking about last week, just a continuation of that, is that the Quran and the Ahl Bayt obviously mention that there's two kinds of rulers. One will be the just ruler who takes you to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who reminds you of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who is going to be reminding us of our obligations to the Creator. And there's one who will be guiding us towards hellfire. And the differentiation that was given by Mawla Abu Abdullah al-Hussein alayhi salatu wasalam is, Muhammad wa Imam Abu Abdullah has said that what will happen is that the just ruler will tell people to do what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants them to do, what Allah wants him to do. And so the just ruler will not look at what the people want to do. Last week, if you remember, we were talking about how the people try to manipulate in a democracy, the people will try to manipulate the ruler, the leader. The people will tell the ruler, we want this, we want that, we don't want this, we don't want that. They will try to influence policy and decision. And sometimes the ruler, if he has got a dictatorship or a tyranny, he will do what he wants to do. Or she will do what she wants to do, depending on the situation. And so what happens is, Imam Hussein has said, alayhi salam, that the ruler who guides towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will remind the people not what he himself or she herself wants to do, not what the people want, but what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala expects them to do. And the Quran mentions that, remember, whoever your leader is, يَوْمَ نَدْعُ كُلَّ أُنَاسٍ بِإِمَامِهِمْ. Every community will be raised with their imam. Now, imam in actuality comes from the same root in the Arabic language, and my Arabic speaking brothers are here, they can help guide me as well. The word imam comes from the derivative of is mother. So when you look at a leadership position, you look at a mother, for example. And the mother, guides the child, looks after the child, feeds the child, makes sure the child is safe, makes sure the child is doing the right thing and all that. That's what a mother does. And that is why whenever, for example, if you look at Imam Jum'ah, Imam Jama'at, and when we look at or talk about the A'immah, the Imams, they are guiding us the way a mother would guide a child, okay, taking them forward, keeping them safe, making sure they do the right thing. It's interesting because sometimes what happens is if a child is mischievous or naughty, if a child does something bad akhlaq, something against akhlaq, and they do something really horrible, if the child is young, if the child is 3, 4, 5 years old, the other people will say, look at your child. They'll go to the parents and say, well, this is what you've taught your child? Your child doesn't do this? Your child doesn't have any akhlaq? He does that? This is what you've taught him? Isn't that? If the child is 18, nobody's going to go to the parents and say, what happened to the child? You understand the difference? But while the child is in that developmental stage, the child can be attributed to the parents. And this is one of the reasons why the sixth Imam has been quoted as saying, and some have actually attributed to the Holy Prophet, Shi'atuna kunu lana zayna wa la takunu alayna shayna. O our followers, O our Shia, be a source of goodness for us. People will look at you and try to understand us. People will look at you and understand your Imam, who's your teacher. Just like in the normal world, in the day-to-day world, people will look at a child and understand the parent. People will look at the children and say, okay, no. And sometimes we see this even in our own community. If a child is very well behaved, quiet, disciplined, sits properly, the people say, mashallah, he's been trained well. Trained by whom? His school doesn't train him. Many of the schools here teach the children to be jungly, let alone, have akhlaq or something. So, and I'm not saying this about all schools, I'm just saying about the public, many of the public schools. So nobody will say that he's learned this in school. Nobody will say that he has learned this from his friends or from his uncles or aunts. They'll say the parents have trained him. And so the training comes there, and that's why the word is symbolic of Imam, is from the same derivative. So the Imam is what the leader is. And so the Quran saying, يَوْمَ نَدْعُ كُلَّ أُنَاسٍ بِإِمَامِهِمْ, that on the day of judgment, every community will be raised with their imam, who they followed. So now here in the Mufassirin of the Quran Majid, in the commentator's opinion, what this means is that if you followed, let's look at our actions. If my actions are like that of Iblis or of Muawiyah or Yazid, my actions are of that nature, that means that he was my imam. You can call yourself, or I can call myself a Shia. I can say I'm a Muhammad Rasulullah follower. Saying that doesn't make us a follower. Saying Ashhadu anna Aliyyun Waliyullah does not make us a Shia of Ali ibn Abi Talib. Anybody can say anything. Anybody can claim anything. There's no guarantee of this, that, or the other. What happens is that the guarantee has to be matched with the actions. So the statement needs to be matched with the actions. And so when we are following somebody, we can say that we are following. Now, if we follow the goodness, if we follow the righteousness, then on the day of judgment we will be raised with the Imam of righteousness, with Imam Sahib al-Amr, Imam al-Hujja, Ajjallahu ta'ala dhuhurahu. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. So that is in our actions, that is in our hands, pardon me. And so it is us who will determine and decide which way we are going. The Quran made it clear, everybody will be raised with their Imams. And then we find that Amirul Mu'mineen goes into a little bit of an explanation. And as I had mentioned that we need to summarize this discussion, inshallah. The Imam has been quoted as giving some advice as to what a ruler or a leader should be like. The Imam says a leader should be forgiving and should be generous in his forgiveness. Yani when he overcomes an enemy, one of the ways you show thankfulness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is by being forgiving. You know, sometimes we have leaders who they want leadership, or when they assume the leadership, they use that position of leadership to get back at others. Now I will fix him. Now I will show him. Now I'm the leader, I'm the boss, I'm the ruler, I'm this, I'm that. Now I'll use my position to belittle, humiliate the others. Imam is actually implying here, Amirul Mu'mineen is implying that when you do this, you're actually showing kufr to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You're showing ungratefulness. I'm not saying kufr as in a swear word. I'm saying ungratefulness. So now Allah gave you power. Allah gave you the ability to overcome your enemies. Now you're going to use that power to fight them and humiliate them and belittle them. That means you've shown no thankfulness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But when you have overcome your enemy and then you forgive those who have hurt you personally, then you have shown thankfulness, gratefulness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So one quality of a leader is to be forgiving, to be generous. And the Imam goes on to tell Malik Ashtar, he says that do not take pleasure in punishing others. That might be a responsibility you have to do because somebody has committed a crime or whatever. But don't take pleasure in punishing somebody. Take pleasure in being generous to somebody. That is what should make you happy. Not punishing them, not giving them, severeness and what have you. Then the Imams go on to explain other qualities of a leader. And as I said, I'm not going to take that much time, inshallah. The Imams give another quality, you can say. The Imam should be aware of the situation of the community. The leader, whoever is ruling over the people, should be aware. And this is one of the reasons why, if you look at the life of Amirul Mu'mineen, you see the Imam being aware of every nook and cranny in the community, what the situation is. And that's why we contrast this to our leaders today. Are the leaders far from the public, or do they understand the pains of the public? Do they understand what is happening in the community? What are the issues that are facing the community? What are the things that are in the heart of the community? What is going on? And right now, if we look at many of the leaders of the world, one of the problems, one of the reasons why they become oppressors and dictators is they haven't understood the public. They don't know what the problems of the public are. When the public rises up, then it's a shock to them. So suppress them, put them down, eliminate them, eradicate them, torture them, shoot them, kill them, gas them, whatever. Why? Because they've not understood what led to this. And if you look at in the time of the third Khalifa, you see this. The people of Egypt, The people of Misr, the people of the African areas of the empire, the people of the western parts of the Muslim world had grievances. They were being oppressed. They had a ruler who didn't know how to do Salatul Fajr. He didn't know Masail. He didn't care about the Masail. He didn't care about the Wajib and the Haram. He didn't care alcohol was forbidden or not. The governors were there. So they had a grievance. A leader should be aware of the grievance and should attend to them. Now, keep in mind, not every grievance of every person has got legitimacy. But if there's a certain pain that the community is facing, then the leader has to be able to understand that and try to resolve or solve that to the best of his ability. And so when you have a grievance, and the leader has to be aware in order to that. So what would happen at the time of the third Khalifa? They would cover it up. They would say, no, 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 this is not that, this is not that, this is not, they're all, they're all just shooting their mouths off. There's nothing there. There's no, instead of taking, and one of the things that if you look at, for example, our ulama, our maraja, and one of the things that I have seen with my own eyes, when I've dealt with our senior ulama, if a complaint comes about somebody to a marja, to a mujtahid, and even if that person to whom the complaint has come is their own family member or son-in-law or what have you, the marja actually looks into that. And even if it's one of his wakalas, wakil, we have always have these naysayers and yaysayers, right? People who will be in far Urdu, and that we call them the teaspoons, the chamchas of the ulama. And even if it's one of these chamchas or teaspoons or the yaysayers of a marja, if there is something wrong, I have actually known of ijazas being revoked, very severe statements of condemnation if it is proven that those allegations are true. And as I said, the ultimate is the revocation of the ijazah, of the permission that that person might have to act on the marja's behalf. So it's, one of the things the leadership that Amir al-Mu'mineen and the Aimah have taught us is that nothing can be taken for granted. Every complaint may have legitimacy. It has to be investigated. And once the investigation takes place, then the conclusion has to be made in the most just and fair way possible. And so this applies in any and every situation. So these are qualities that our leaders need to have. Another one that the Quran talks about is the fulfillment of promises. Inna al-ahda kana mas'uda. The promises, the ahads that you make will be questioned. Any ahad that you make, any promise, if you tell one of your subordinates, or one of your subjects, that I will do this or I will do that, then make sure it is followed up. Make sure that that promise that has been made is fulfilled. Again, we look at one of the things in the world that is a source of not only discomfort, but a source of destabilization, is because if promises are not fulfilled, then people don't know what to trust. If today, imagine for a moment, when you buy a house, when you buy a car, you are buying a piece of property from the government, from another seller, from whoever and wherever else. Those people have bought it from somebody else, so unless it's the government. Now, can you imagine if one day the bank says, all of your deposits that you're left with us, all of your GICs and TDs and term deposits and your RRSPs and your ESPs, education funds, everything is zero. The government has taken it over. The bank has taken it over. What will be our state? Because in actuality, when you put money in, when you buy a house, you're trusting somebody with your money. You're trusting somebody. The accountants will always find this very interesting. Because this is, the whole foundation. In fact, many of our people here in Canada don't realize when you buy anything from the government, you're actually buying it from the Queen, Her Majesty. And if you look at the Constitution, Her Majesty or the Queen, or if it's a king, whatever, have the power to seize anything, anywhere, anytime. They have the power. They don't exercise it, but they have the power. There have been movies made about this. So they have the power to take everything that you own, because this is all what they call crown land. The banks belong to Her Majesty. All public and private institutions belong to the Queen or the King, whoever it is. In our case, it's the Queen. That's why all your coins have her picture on it. Many of the bills have her picture. That the power is there. Now, if that power was to be exercised, How many of us would want to even leave money in the bank? How many of us would have bought a house? Would just stay in an apartment, keep the money safe? How would you keep it safe? Where will you keep it safe? You know, when I look at, alhamdulillah, nobody's elder here. All of you are, mashallah, youngsters, antum shabab. Walakin, if you were to talk to our elders, how did they save money? They didn't trust banks. They didn't trust these credit unions or institutions. They used to keep them under the mattresses. I still remember my nanny and my daddy, both my paternal and maternal grandmothers, when Eid would come, they would go in the pillowcases and they would take out these wads of notes and say, here, beta, this is Eid, Eid, Eid. From the pillowcases, from under the mattresses. Maybe you remember this, maybe you don't. Maybe it wasn't the case in your families. But a lot of our elders, in my family, the elders, they didn't trust anybody. This is my money. I've worked hard for it. I've earned it. I don't trust the bank. I don't trust the government. I don't trust this. I don't trust anybody. It'll be in my bread. Now, you know, nobody went and told them that, what if, God forbid, you have a theft in the house? And thieves are not dumb. They also know that old people hide money under the mattresses and in the pillowcases. But, you know, this was their degree of safety and security. Just like you will trust the bank, you will trust your credit cards, you will trust this and that. But what we're saying is that imagine if that promise was not fulfilled. Then them giving you the house or selling you the house or, you know, hanging on to your money. Imagine if they broke their promise and say, okay, I don't remember what money you're talking about. Your bank book says $10,000 and the bank says, oh, we don't have your $10,000. We don't know where it is. These are just numbers in a bank book. What is this in the bank book? It's a number. The statement you get, it's a number. Those are numbers on it. It's on a piece of paper. What does it mean? I can type those big numbers on a piece of paper. But you have trust. This is what one of the foundations of leadership in Islam is all about. That you trust the leader. If they say something, you expect them to fulfill it. And sadly, we will have the trust here, but we don't have that trust for our Muslim leaders today. Now, notice I'm not saying Islamic leaders, I'm saying Muslim leaders. Why? Because many Muslim countries went out and what did? They nationalized everything. They put everything on the public payroll or on the government hands. And that has caused this instability or distrust. And so people who have come from those countries, when they come here, then they realize, wow, things are different here. We can trust. We can leave our money in the bank or buy property or this, and we know that tomorrow, inshallah, it will still be ours. The day after, it will still be there. I'm not talking about stock markets or when you put money in shares and stocks and you lose everything. That is your issue, your problem. That you put the money in knowing that that can happen. We're talking about safe, secure deposits. And so what we find is that this is one of the areas of contrition. The Imam says that a leader will fulfill the promise. He will make sure that there is stability in the minds and the hearts of the people, that they trust the country, the nation, the mulk that they are living in. And that's the importance of leadership, inshallah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Inna a'tainaka al-Kawthar, fasalli li rabbika wanhar, inna shaniyaka huwa al-abtar. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين خالق السماوات والأرض إلها واحدا أحدا صمدا لم يتخذ صاحبة ولا ولدا والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين خاتم النبيين رحمة للعالمين طه وياسين بالقاسم محمد وصلي على وصي رسول رب العالمين وأمير المؤمنين وإمام المتقين وقاتل الكافرين والمشركين مولانا علي بن أبي طالب وصلي على بنت رسول رب العالمين سيدة نساء العالمين صديقة الطاهرة أم الأئمة فاطمة الزهراء محمد وآله وسلم على سبط نبي الرحمة وسيدي شباب أهل الجنة إمام الحسن والحسين والأئمة المسلمين علي بن الحسين سيد العابدين صلى الله على محمد وآل محمد ومحمد بن علي الباقر للنبيين صلى الله على محمد وآل وجعفر بن محمد الصادق البار الأمين محمد وآل محمد وموسى بن جعفر الكاظم اللهم صل على محمد وآل وعلي بن موسى الرضا المرتضى ومحمد بن علي التقي الجواد اللهم صل على محمد وعلي بن محمد النقي الهادي اللهم صل على محمد والحسن بن علي الزكي العسكري صل على محمد وعلى والإمام القائم الحادي المهدي المنتظر اللهم عجل فرجه وقرب زمانه وكثر انصاره واهلك اعداءه بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنوا أرضك توعا وتمتع فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين صلى الله عليه وسلم. أما بعد فقد قال الله سبحانه وتعالى في كتابه الحكيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وكونوا مع الصادقين. Once again, I remind myself and the believers to observe the taqwa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to be conscious and remembering of Allah's presence in every second, every millisecond of our lives. This last week has been a bit of an interesting week militarily. You've read in the news, and I was actually looking at some of the Israeli papers about the shooting down of the F-16 fighter jet of Israel over the that had actually incurred into Syrian airspace. And it was interesting because I was reading both the Israeli perspective as well as the Western perspective, and then of course I've shared with you many times, Press TV has been an interesting, refreshing source of news for me. And we see that the Western media as well as the Israeli media was concentrating on the drone that was shot down. And of course, Press TV and SANA, the Syrian official news agency, was focusing on the shooting down of the Israeli jet, the F-16 fighter jet. One of the things that was acknowledged even by the Zionist media was that this has been the first time, like it's very rare. I mean, some planes have crashed, but it's the first time that they've actually recorded a plane actually being shot down, okay? Because they have superior air power and speed that has been able to bypass the radars of most countries. So whenever they've done anything, they've been able to actually bypass the security systems and the radars of many countries, or most countries. Even if you remember in 1981 when they had flown into Iraq to bomb the reactor, they had actually, crossed through about 3 different countries, which none of them had detected that there was an Israeli oil, unless they just didn't admit it, okay, including Saudi, including I.H.S. But what was interesting is that they were doing a lot of analysis. And I just wanted to share very, very briefly, a couple of these analyses. And they were saying that, well, what was the reason? Why did Iran, if it was Iran, send their drone and only to have it shot down? And one of the analysts said that maybe Iran wanted to sort of provoke a response and then, test their air power, like Syria's air defense power, and they basically succeeded in that. This is what the Zionist paper was saying. If you want the reference, it's Hart's newsletter, newspaper, H-A-A-R-T-Z. Very prominent Zionist newsletter, newspaper. But there are some articles which are very, very thought-provoking, and it's a very interesting read to do. They were saying that this was one way that Iran was trying to entice them to come into, if it was an Iranian drone, of course, to check out the air power and that. They were still confused and baffled of 2 things. Number one was, how did this drone get into Israeli airspace? And why would Iran try and use such an expensive one? Because this was their analysis, and then the Western media subsequently acknowledged this, that this was a replica of the drone that had gone into Iranian airspace earlier in the 21st century. So around the 2005-6, the United States had sent a drone which Iran actually brought down without firing a single shot. They used computer technology to bring the drone down just not far from Mashhad, and they basically brought it down without firing a shot. And then they basically opened it up, and this is why the Americans had complained to the United Nations that they have our drone, and Iran's response was, well, what was it doing in our country to begin with? And they had basically made a replica, and they sent that, sorry? No, I'm talking about the original one, the one that was there. Maybe it was 3, maybe I'm mistaken. They brought, okay, Jazakallah khair. This was actually one of the things when I've talked in the month of Muharram, in one of the Ashuras, I had mentioned, Jazakallah khair, that people have said that the 12th Imam will have the Dhul-Fiqar of Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib. And I've had youngsters come to me and say, Sheikh, Zulfikar will not be able to fight these drones and planes and missiles and atomic weapons and nuclear weapons and bombs. And I remember using this as an example, that if somebody who, just through technology can bring down a drone with their computer, a drone of another country, Imam Sahibul Amr will not have the power to bring down any aircraft, any missile, any atomic bombs. This is only logical. Okay. But anyways, they were saying that this was a replica of that drone that the Americans had fired. So interestingly, this was their calculation, this was their analysis. And I was thinking, I said, wow, if, alhamdulillah, our Shia community and scientists and technologists are at a point where they can now do what China has been doing for the last 100 years anyways, and that's replicate things, not new things, then it says a lot. It says quite a bit that you can, create a drone that can go and actually do surveillance in another country, which is what the Americans and the Israelis have been doing to other countries for years now. And I think that says a lot, especially coming from them. And coming back to the original, I don't know if it was Sayyid Hassan or one of the other military leaders mentioned, he said that this is only the first of many, the first aircraft coming down of many. So now we are ready for, any war. The reason, and I had actually 2 things to talk about in today's second khutbah, but I will have to probably postpone this till next. I'll just give you a little bit of a premonition of what I wanted to say. There's been this discussion since the last American election about Russian interference in the election, Russian meddling in the American election. And, this is a threat to democracy, this is an affront to American system and all that. And they're saying that possibly, probably, could be Russians have meddled in the American election of 2016. A question that I wish journalists would have the courage to ask is Russia the only country interfering in American elections? Why don't we do an investigation into Israeli interference in American elections, or Canadian elections, or European elections? I wanted to get into this, but as I said, I'll keep you here till Maghrib time if I start this discussion. But it's just something to think about during this week, and inshallah, I'll make a note to carry this, inshallah, unless something more drastic happens during the week, which we pray it doesn't. But inshallah, this is something that I think that our journalists need to be advised of and briefed of, that it's not just Russia, if it interfering in an election. There are other more dangerous countries that are interfering ongoing in American elections, and I think that they need to be exposed if Russia is to be exposed as well. And we hope and pray, inshallah, that Allah gives us the tawfiq and the ability to convey our message to those who are responsible for keeping the media free. The free media is also a very dichotomy that needs to be addressed as well. But as I said, we'll talk about this in future discussions. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive us and to make us closer to Him. And as one of the days of the shahadat of Hazrat Zahra is coming, we ask Allah to give us the shafaat of Fatima Zahra in this dunya and in her ziyarat in this dunya, and her shafaat in the akhir, inshallah. Monday, I understand, is the day of one of the narrations of the shahadat. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept our amal, and we extend condolences to Imam Sahibul Amr and to the entire Muslim ummah throughout the world. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Qul huwa Allahu ahad, Allahu samad, lam yalid wa lam yulad wa lam yakul lahu kufuwan ahad. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
أشهد أن أمير المؤمنين عليا حجة الله.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
أشهد أن أمير المؤمنين عليا ولي الله.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
حي على الصلاة.
حي على الصلاة.
حي على الفلاح. حي على الفلاح. حي على خير العمل. حي على خير العمل.
قد قامت الصلاة. قد قامت الصلاة.
الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله.
إن الصلاة ونسك ومحياي ومماتي لله رب العالمين. استغفر الله كل ذنب وأتوب يا أرحم الراحمين. الله أكبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يسبح لله ما في السماوات وما في الأرض الملك القدوس العزيز الحكيم. هو الذي بعث في الأميين رسولا منهم يتلو عليهم آياته ويزكيهم ويعلمهم الكتاب والحكمة وإن كانوا من قبل لفي ضلال مبين وآخرين منهم لما يلحقوا بهم وهو العزيز الحكيم. ذلك فضل الله يؤتيه من يشاء والله ذو الفضل العظيم. مثل الذين حملوا التوراة ثم لم يحملوها كمثل الحمار يحمل أسفاره. بئس مثل القوم الذين كذبوا بآيات الله والله لا يهدي القوم الظالمين. قل يا أيها الذين هادوا إن زعمتم أنكم أولياء لله من دون الناس فتمنوا الموت إن كنتم صادقين ولا يتمنونه أبدا بما قدمت أيديهم والله عليم بالظالمين. قل إن الموت الذي تفرون منه فإنه ملاقيكم ثم تردون إلى عالم الغيب والشهادة فينبئكم بما كنتم تعملون. يا أيها الذين آمنوا إذا نودي للصلاة من يوم الجمعة فاسعوا إلى ذكر الله وذروا البيع ذلكم خير لكم إن كنتم تعلمون. فإذا قضيت الصلاة فانتشروا في الأرض وابتغوا من فضل الله واذكروا الله كثيرا لعلكم تفلحون. وإذا رأوا تجارة أو لهوا انفضوا إليها وتركوك قائما. قل ما عند الله خير من اللهو ومن التجارة والله خير الرازقين. الله أكبر. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم اغفر لنا وارحمنا وعافنا واعف عنا في الدنيا والآخرة إنك على كل شيء قدير. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. استغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. بحول الله تعالى وقوته أقوم وأقعد وأركع وأسجد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. كذلك الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. رب صل على محمد وآل محمد. سمع الله لمن حمده. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. ربنا اغفر لي ولوالدي وللمؤمنين يوم يقوم الحساب. رب ارحمهما كما ربياني صغيرا. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. رب صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. استغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. رب صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. بسم الله وبالله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله